Up, happy Tuesday. Yesterday was new amp day in my house. Behind me, plugged in, is a Monomyth Skeleton Key. This is a ground up build from Shay Monomyth and his company Monomyth Amps. This is run 2, and this is midway through the second run, so there's 15 of these amps that exist somewhere out in the wild, and my job is to let you know what I think about it. So again, it's it is in a Marshall style head shell, and I sort of feel like that's where the differences between that and a Marshall really kind of separate. So it is an EL34 based amp, but it is one of the most aggressive sounding amps I have ever heard in my entire life. It did take me a little bit to, the controls aren't, there's, you should not be afraid on these controls to max out certain things. So if you'll notice things like I have the thunder control maxed out, I've got the bass control maxed out, I've scooped out a lot of mids. This amp has a ton of character. It's super bright, it's super aggressive, and I'm going to take your questions and thoughts. But I'm going to grab my favorite Telecaster. It's kind of just a good dynamic guitar to check this out with. So a couple things about how I am going to quote-unquote demo this today. I have live mics on the cabinet. I also have the reactive load set up, and I can also actually give you the room mic, which is an SM7B across the room. I don't know if that's the best use of how we would do things like this, but hey, if you're watching this on Facebook or if you're watching this on YouTube, give me a thumbs up, shoot me a comment. I want to make sure that my comments are coming across. My man Robbie has found this on YouTube. He says, "Hey man," so apparently those comments are coming through. Now I will also say I had to do a full reinstall of my operating system yesterday because I thought I was having some issues. So this is the first run with this new install. But let's go ahead and let's fire up a couple riffs. Again, Truman Telecaster with like it's his own pickup, so I can't tell you who makes the pickups in this thing. But let's just go ahead and jump in and see how aggressive this thing actually is. So the only pedal that is on right now is the Rev G8 in the loop. I just have a noise gate in there just for kicks and grins, because why not? Why wouldn't I have a noise gate on there? It doesn't really need a noise gate sitting in the room. And I've got the master volume, as you can see. It's not cranked up very loud. I've definitely got a bunch of room, but trying to not make my cat super pissed, so I've kind of got it down at a reasonable volume level. And again, the EQs, if we go back and set this, all the way back to noon, I mean, I won't say the amp gets even more aggressive, but the brightness really comes out. I just really like the thickness that is given by bringing up the thunder and the bass controls. So A lot of just, I mean, this amp is just really aggressive. It's not like anything else I own. I suppose the only high gain amp I own at this moment is the Rev. But it's not like anything I've really owned ever in the past. I was sort of expecting this to be, I've sort of expected this to be like, you know, a Friedman BE or a JJ or something like that. And I can just tell you, like, the feel of this thing is 180 degrees differently than like a Friedman amp. Like I said, it's in a Marshall style cabinet, but like, yes, it's EL34 based, but this just does not really sound like any modded Marshall that I've ever played. Yeah, again, this is a small room. I have not spent a bunch of time throwing the mics on this, you know, in the perfect spot. I have it's a fairly new Rev 2x12 cab with a V30 and H75, and on one side is a 906, and the other side is a 57, because that's just kind of what I have laying around. So I kind of expect it's probably bright and fizzy. What amp camp does that fall under? It sounds Marshally. I mean, I think. Oh, sorry. You guys missed that comment. Dylan's asking, sounds badass. What camp does this fall under? It sounds Marshally. Like, it's EL34 bass, so I bet you it's in the Marshally, you know, mid-range things. I have not owned a ton of Marshalls. I've owned a bunch of Friedman stuff. And I can just tell you that the feel of this thing is just nothing like any modded Marshall that I've ever played. It's just super aggressive. I will say it feels very unforgiving under the fingers. I was trying to play some like Papa Roach riff the other day, and there's like, I won't say there's no bounce to it, but it's very precise. It's very quick to react. What else can I say about it without... Again, I don't... It just doesn't sound like it. It wasn't at all what I expected it to sound like. Again, to Robbie's comment earlier, it sounds way more modern than I was expecting. Yes, but it doesn't sound as rolled off or... you know, when I think of really modern amps, they kind of really focus in, and the EQ range on this is pretty wide. So... why don't, for just grins, and I don't have the volume levels set up on this correctly, but let's try, I'm going to turn off the live mics on it, and we're going to try the reactive load, and we're going to see what you think of this. Now, again, I still have the sound in the room, so I have no idea what this actually sounds like to you, so let me know in your comments whether this is better, worse, what you kind of think of this IR combination. Again, I use the same cabinet, but I'm using the 2 Notes reactive load versions of it instead of the live mics. right on. All right, so some comments coming in. Yeah, this sounds a little bit better. Less bite, but it's still enough. And I think, again, that's just going to come down to, I mean, this amp has a ton of bite. So, fizziness or whatever probably has something to do with mic placement and mic preamps and a bunch of stuff that I didn't spend the time to figure out for a live stream like this. I don't usually mic up a cab just because normally I can't get it loud enough that it makes any sense. Robbie says it sounds a little smoother. He digs it. Dylan's kind of comparing this to a Splawn Nitro-ish. It's an amp I've never owned a Splawn. I would say as a whole I kind of shied away from Marshall amps for a long time. I don't necessarily know why per se. But hey, when the opportunity to get in on this run was there, I had to jump at it. Tom seems super punchy, and you dig it. Absolutely. So what I'm gonna do, since we're kind of feeling like the cab IR thing is a little better, what I'm gonna do to make my life easier and to give you some more options, and I'm gonna go grab some EQ stuff, and I may have to yell from across the room, but I'm gonna put this amp on standby. We're going to disconnect the rear speaker so I can actually hear what you're hearing. Now, those of you at home who do not have a live, who do not use a load box, do not just unplug your cabinet. That is not what you're here for. But I have a load box, and so therefore I can indeed unhook the cabinet and not pass it through down to where we're going. So obviously my room mic volume will probably drop a little bit as we go back, and I will have to bounce back and forth between what we're looking at. But I want you to hear this amp kind of in the best ways that we possibly can do that. And I just want to make sure that at least I can get some sound coming back. So just a couple audio checks here. Oh, I got to take the amp off standby, or turn it back on, I should say. And now without the cab on, I can actually give it a little bit more master volume. All right, yeah, it still sounds really bright. It doesn't quite have the thump that I'm getting in the room, and I guess I probably would expect that coming off an IR, just what I'm hearing versus. I don't know, that's got quite a bit of good chunk to it. So, all right, I'm going to slide back to where the amp is. Crunk is asking if I'm using a Captor X. Nope, I am using a reactive load. But let's go ahead and pop up. What am I using in Logic? What I am doing is I've got Wall of Sound loaded up in Logic, but I am using the Captor X as my load box. So that is what we are doing. Is the Thunder knob a negative feedback control? I honestly do not know the answer to that question. What I do know is it feels to me like a resonance knob. So kind of like it's the depth knob that I would have had on a KSR or an Omega or something like that. I would think this would be the last amp that you would get that you would gel with. It sounds pretty good for the way you play. You know what? This amp is not at all what I expected, but I'm really enjoying it. Like, again, I will say I was kind of going into this thinking I was going to get a, Friedman BE-esque, compressed amp. And, a bunch of people I know just said this was, hey, really good. But I'm really enjoying this. I don't know where this sits for me long term, how often I will fire up something like this, but it's not like anything I've owned in the past, and I have a ton of fun playing it. But yeah, let me slide back and let's take a look at some of these EQ controls and some of these switches. Keep the questions coming in, and I will kind of do this as long as people stay engaged. So I hope this is going to be a fun one for everybody. So again, camera's on the amp. I'm going to roll back to it. All right, first thing we're going to do, let's look at some of the, so also 2 things to note. This is a 2-input single-channel amplifier, and so I am on the higher, what I believe to be the higher gain input on this, but again, you can see also the gain is still only down, at 10 o'clock. I didn't use, I just reinstalled my laptop, so we're going to bounce back over here, and you're going to have to bear with me for a second, because I have not activated my copy of Loopback. These are all the tiny little details that I did not figure out. So I need to put in something's going to blow up. Oh no. Are you guys getting my audio back at all, or what? I'm definitely getting to something's about to blow up, and then oh no. So hopefully, I think the loopback quality just dropped. I don't exactly know what happens when I don't do this, but I have a license to loopback. Let me know if you guys are still hearing me. That would be great. If not, one of my best live streams will be sorted because of stupid loopback. Alright, loopback has been unlocked. Can I get a thumbs up? Is anybody still hearing me? What is occurring in your world over here? There's white noise over everything. That's not a good sign. White noise went away. Okay. So that's okay. Thank you. That's good. That's probably when I unlocked loopback. It was probably degrading my audio and doing a bunch of stuff that we didn't really want it to do. So, all right. After that interruption, let's go back and we can take a look at the amp again. So, disaster avoided. I'm pumped. So, again, that's the gain knob. We're going to move that back down. Now, there are 3 switches down at the bottom of this amp. The one on the right with this fire knob, that is a brightness switch, which has probably the most effective, the tonal quality and the gain within the whole amp, I would say. So, again, it's in the far left position. If I put this back into the middle position, the amp actually cleans up quite a bit and kind of just has less bite. So that's the non-bright switch off mode, I would say. And again, back to the far right. Now on the far left mode, it's sort of somewhere in between there. Slide that back to the right. Sorry, that's into the middle. So again, that's sort of where I kind of started with was my favorite setting that I found from going through yesterday. Now, if we just start, let's get crazy and put all these things back at noon. You know, like a good human being does. We even take that gain knob to noon. So obviously a lot of that low end comes out of the amp from taking out the thunder and the bass controls. We've also got this scissor switch, which is a mid cut. Super punchy with that in. All right, we'll slide back over here to the desk, take a look at these chat questions, see what's going on. Robbie is saying that the bright switch seems to be similar to the bright caps on the Seratone uses to mod their Plexi amp, adds a great amount of variety without spending time on the knobs. I would totally agree with that statement. And Dylan's saying definitely sounds 4 gain stage modded Marshall. I'm curious if the signal goes through a node like Splawn versus Cathode. Friedman 3-way switch is probably the Splawn gears, which is like the Friedman C45. Fat switch, yep. Does have additional clipping circuit, Jose Friedman mod saturation. All of that certainly may be true. I don't have a ton of information. I have not talked, other than, on Instagram or through Facebook. I found out that they were doing another run of these. Another friend of mine named Anthony had one of these and just thought, every demo clip he had of it, it just sounded super dynamic and the range on it was great. And that's sort of one of the reasons I really fell in love with those tones and had the chance to grab one and figured it was a no-lose situation. So definitely a lot going on within the amp. Just grabbing some ginger ale there. All right, let's pass back over, take a look at some other EQs on this. But like I said, the tone that you're getting from the IR definitely moves everything back towards the middle a little bit. I think everything is a little less noticeable than you do when you're sitting in the room with this cab. All of the EQ is very sensitive, and again, these switches are all really noticeable. It's not like some other amps that I've had kind of a voicing switching that you're like, oh, I don't know what this does. You hit a switch on this amp and you know whether you like what it did or not. It's just there are big audible differences in each one of these switches. So Cool. Also, just remember again, I'm playing a bolt-on neck telly as opposed to like a Les Paul. I mean, I can get some of the PRSs out either today or another stream, but I just figured this was the best way to kind of dig into some of this. So, all right, gain or the braid switch is still back on the far right. We'll mess with the presence knob. Super cutty for sure. That presence knob really does cut through a lot of what's just cutty. I don't know a better way to put it than that. Bass, treble, treble and mids are up. I should also say there is no. I have pedals in front of this amp, but nothing is turned on, so there is no boost. This is Truman Telly straight into this amp. Now there's also a feel switch that's down below here, so in the middle we get a substantial jump in volume. I feel like this is the like a saturation switch on a Friedman. I dropped the master volume just so I didn't get too loud here and clip a circuit. So it does drop some volume, kind of like the saturation switch does. Again, I kind of prefer that on the farthest right. Alright, now there's also this little alien switch, which I wrote down. I think this is the clipping circuit, so it changes how it clips. So there is just only 2 modes here, so I kind of prefer it over on the left. But again, we got a big kind of a volume spike that jumps over to the right. About to bounce into that Papa Roach lick, and I just again I was immediately reminded how unforgiving this amp is, and I just think the single note stuff is a little harder to play. Come check on the comments. Robbie's got a head out. He said it was good to chill. Always good to see you, man. I will not be on the Rev live stream tomorrow because I will be at a Billy Howardell concert in San Francisco. Dylan says, just looked 4-gain stage plexi build, my favorites. So, totally makes sense. I've never owned a plexi. It was one of the things I just never owned them because they were too loud or whatever else. But I didn't quite know what to expect, and I really I enjoy this amp. It is really in your face, and again, I'm just not 1,000% sure where this lives for me. As again, somebody else had kind of commented, this might be the last amp in the world that they would think I would buy. But of course, you know, that's when I go grab one and figure out you know, what I want to do with my life. All right, let's kind of bounce into Logic here real quick and take a look at, again, the cab setup here. Let's go and see what I've got from a 412 perspective. Do I want to use, let's try the Fortin Beast 30 cab, which is kind of, again, probably a good Fortin Beast. These are vintage 30s. Let's do again, it's not going to be quite the same. 421 and a 57. My fingers do not want to play that right now. And again, like that's what I said. I feel like with really quicker single note stuff, I really struggle with this amp because it is very quick. It is very immediate. It does not hide any of my mistakes. This is where if I had a rolling disclaimer about, you know, hey, if you came here to hear a better guitar player, you picked the wrong channel. All right, let me grab a Les Paul, should you, again, I didn't think ahead to tune this ahead of time. I think I tuned it yesterday, so hopefully it's still in tune. We'll see how far off we are. Chad, yeah, definitely. I think you would absolutely love this. It's super fast. I think this is, like I said, right in your wheelhouse of things I think you would really like just because of how quick it is. I like that bloom and that sag and all of those things. So Anthony's suggesting we go the 1947 switch to the left and the blood is on the low input. So let's do that. When you have the man who tells you how to dial this amp in, you go do it. So, all right, so throw it on standby. This is in. 47 switch is to the left. And we're going to turn the blood switch on, which is in the back. Make sure I get with the correct switch instead of the loop. All right. Blood switch engaged. All EQ is still the same. And Anthony, if I'm not got this dialed in how you would like it, you tell me where to put these knobs or what you remember on where I should put these knobs, and I will get after it. Oop, I left the standby switch on. Standby switch is off. I mean, I can hear how bright this is. I mean, this is a really, it just really. Definitely want to cut some of that. I feel like I want to cut some of that top end out. I could also attempt to do that with the cabinet, I suppose. I could try to pull these mics a little bit off the center a little bit more. Yep, he says use the cut. Well, the mid cut, I mean, I suppose that would pull out some of the brightness as well. And Dylan's saying, I bet his Les Paul with Sir Aldrich would sound awesome. But Dylan, I'm pretty sure anything you would play would sound awesome through this because you're a monster player for sure. Again, Anthony's saying I can use the cut. And Sean, who also has one of these bad boys, has dropped into the chat. He's giving me metal horns up, so... Dang, you're so aggressive. Oh my god, even with like gain at 11 o'clock, it's freaking aggressive. So let's try that cut switch over to the left position. mean, shit, man, this thing is just so aggressive. Sean's saying it's the cab, for sure. So again, for those of you who turn in, I was using the Fortin Beast cab. I was originally using the Rev cab. What do I want to use? I can try an Uber cab. Let's try that 7B again. I do like a 7B on a guitar cab. I like that a lot better, to be fair. You guys like that better? Try that condenser mic and put it more on the center of the cab. Ooh, there we go. And Sean, you were right. It was the cab. Yeah, this amp is super aggressive. Just the pick scrapes that I'm getting. All right, folks, we are 45 minutes in, and despite a couple of minutes of screwing up because of loopback not working, I think we were pretty productive in walking through this. If you are watching this later and you have questions or want to see something specific, leave me a comment, shoot me a message, do something. I want to know what you think of the amp, especially with a player like myself who's not the most precise. I definitely think I have a certain tonal quality with this amp that I don't have with anything else. A player like Chad, who is telling me good job. I really think a player like him, who is really looking for an in-your-face, tight, fast-responding amps, this thing would probably slay. And I know Chad is going to be coming back down to visit me sometime soon because I have his 5150 Iconic, and so... if we work it out right, I will have Chad play this for you live on his camera, or not on his camera. I will have Chad play this live for you on a live stream if we can make it work out. So, all right, everybody, have a fabulous Tuesday. I'm going to go eat dinner because I'm a fat kid and I'm hungry. And I want to turn this, I want to plug it back in. I want to play this more with a live cab without an audience to critique me. So leave me your comments, leave me your thoughts. Thanks for everybody for tuning in and hanging out. And if you made it to this part in your video and you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, smash the frickin' button down below. So thanks, everybody. Have a fabulous evening, day, wherever you are, doing whatever you're doing.